When I first plan, I actually plan by unit. So I look at the unit that Guilford County pretty much gives us that follows the Common Core standards. Their pacing guide has a number of days that they recommend that you spend on a unit. From experience, I kind of look at it and see if I want to stay aligned with the number of days they've given. Sometimes I might give an extra day or two to it to best fit the needs of my students. So I'll actually pull out a calendar and I will write down that entire unit. What I would like to teach every single day for that unit. And so then after that I go back and look at each individual lesson. So for today's lesson, I knew we were starting angles, and of course the most important thing for me in geometry with any lesson is making sure that they know the vocabulary. There's a lot of vocabulary in geometry that they have to understand in order to even attempt problems, because just about every problem that they see is going to have some type of vocabulary word in it. So today I knew that for every unit I create a folder. And in that folder it has the vocabulary. It may have any pictures, rules, formulas, anything that we need for that particular unit. So we had already started our folder for this unit, and today we added some more vocabulary words to our folder. Just knowing that today's focus was mainly on vocabulary and making sure that they can identify pictures as they see them and what vocabulary word it matches up to, and then what is the definition of that word and how can I solve the problem. Just trying to make all of those relationships come together and seen in a full circle. So when I plan, of course, I know the Common Core standard that I'm using for that day. I write down all the vocabulary that is needed, and then I think about what has worked for me in the past for students. What strategies can I use? Knowing the group that I have now, very small class, which I love, so you are able to do more things with them, and I try to do as many hands-on things as possible. And so I just knew going into this lesson that I wanted them to model the angles that we were talking about some kind of way. And it took me a while. My first thought was I'm just going to do popsicle sticks and just have them model different angles for me. And that kind of morphed into, well, why restrict them just to popsicle sticks? Try to offer them other things that they can use to model. So over time, every day I'm thinking about what's coming up and how do I want to present it to the students. My original thoughts was I was going to offer them string, popsicle sticks, straws, and toothpicks, and they could choose whatever they like. But for time restraints, I just offered them 2 today, but we'll go back and add the other ones in later. So planning for me is just all about engagement, vocabulary, and then having them demonstrate their mastery, whether it's at a very basic level, which I consider today maybe a basic level, just do you understand the vocabulary? Can you model that vocabulary? And some days it is definitely at a higher level of them demonstrating mathematics, and can you do several things? Can you identify? Can you set up an equation? Can you solve that equation? Can you relate this to a real world example? So lots of planning, lots of thoughts. I went to several coworkers about this, even when I started this unit, on how I wanted to create my folder. So we kind of talked, and no one else teaches geometry, but I went to them and just kind of threw off my ideas to them, and people gave me feedback. So definitely not in this by myself. First of all, I love my students, but here at Smith High School, it would have to be my department that keeps me here. We work very well together, and we're really like a little family, but we have gotten to the point where I'm not scared to share with someone else when something doesn't go right. And I think a lot of people want to look like they're right all the time, or I'm not having problems in my classroom. But we've really grown to the point where we feel comfortable sharing. This lesson just didn't go the way I thought it was going to go today. What suggestions do you have? Does anyone else have any other strategies or any other ideas that I can use? Because my students don't seem to be grasping this concept. So for me, I have to say that it's my department. They are wonderful and we work very well together. And the students are wonderful. I love them.